Hello everyone, Yom Tov, it's me, it's Hedda back again, and welcome to Wednesday's Folk Tales. Now today is a special Wednesday Folk Tales because today we are doing a requested video as a birthday gift to one of our very special Haveners. So this is from all of us to you, and this is to Candice Young. She is one of our very special Haveners. It was her birthday on the 15th, but obviously I couldn't give her a video that day. So she asked, would it be possible to have a dedicated video to her to celebrate her birthday? And I couldn't be happier to do it for a lovelier person. Candice has asked, even though it's not a folk tale, but today she's asked for the first chapter of Winnie the Pooh by A.A.Milne. And I know it's a firm favourite of another of our lovely Haveners, Daphne. So I want to say a big hello to Candice and to wish her a very happy birthday. And a quick hello to Daphne. Hello, Daphne. So today we are at, well, who do I think I am, the Queen? Today I am going to read the very first chapter of A.A.Milne's Winnie the Pooh for Candice. And I'd like to wish Candice a very happy birthday in Hebrew, which is Yom Holedet Sameach. Have a very happy birthday. And, you know, I'm just so happy to be doing this for you. I couldn't be doing it for, as I say, for a lovelier person, because you deserve it. And I hope you like my reading of it. And I hope you enjoy it, Candice. And I hope everybody else enjoys it. Just might spark back a little bit of childhood for you. And if we've got time, by the end I finish reading this chapter, then I'm going to read you a story from Beedle the Bard, because I've still got two of those stories left to go. So like I say, if I've got time, I'll read you some Beedle the Bard. So like I said, we'll be back to normal folk tales. I think it's next week or the week after. I think there's something happening the week after that, but you know, seeing my memory's atrocious. So if I've got something planned for the week after, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll be back to normal transmissions as we do. So without further ado, Candice, here is your birthday gift from the Haven to you. And I'm going to read you there's a little poem right at the beginning, little dedication. And it says this, and this is for you. And it says, to her. Hand in hand we come, Christopher Robin and I, to lay this book in your lap. So I'm going to say to lay this story in your lap. Say you're surprised. Say you like it. Say it's because it's what you wanted. Because it's yours. And because we love you. So, Chapter 1, in which we are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and some bees, and the stories begin. Here is Edward Bear coming downstairs now. Bump, bump, bump on the back of his head, behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs, but sometimes he feels that there really is another way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment and think of it. And then he feels that perhaps there isn't. Anyhow, here he is at the bottom and ready to be introduced to you, Winnie the Pooh. When I first heard his name, I said, just as you are going to say, but I thought he was a boy. So did I, said Christopher Robin. Then you can't call him Winnie. I don't. But you said he's Winnie the Pooh. Don't you know what the means? Ah, yes, now I do, I said quickly. And I hope you do too, because that is all the explanation you are going to get. Sometimes Winnie the Pooh likes a game of some sort when he comes downstairs, and sometimes he likes to sit quietly in front of the fire and listen to a story. This evening... What about a story? Said Christopher Robin. What about a story? Said I. Could you very sweetly tell Winnie the Pooh one? Well, I could, I said. What sort of stories does he like? About himself, because he's that sort of bear. Oh, I see. So could you try very sweetly? I'll try, I said. So I tried. Once upon a time, a very long time ago, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself under the name of Sanders. What does under the name mean? Asked Christopher Robin. It means he had the name over the door in gold letters and lived under it. Winnie the Pooh wasn't quite sure, said Christopher Robin. Now I am, said a growly voice. Then I will go on, said I. One day when he was out walking, he came to an open place in the middle of the forest, and in the middle of this place was a large oak tree, and from the top of the tree there came a loud buzzing noise. Winnie the Pooh sat down at the foot of the tree, put his head between his paws, and began to think. First of all, he said to himself, that buzzing noise means something. You don't get a buzzing noise like that, just buzzing and buzzing, without it meaning something. If there's a buzzing noise, somebody's making a buzzing noise, and the only reason for making a buzzing noise that I know of is because you're a bee. And then he thought another long time and said, and the only reason for being a bee that I know of is making honey. And he got up and said, and the only reason for making honey is so I can eat it. And so he began to climb the tree. Well, he climbed and climbed and he climbed, and as he climbed he sang a little song to himself. It went like this. Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Buzz, buzz, buzz. I wonder why he does. Then he climbed a little further and a little further and then just a little further, and by that time he thought of another song. It's a very funny thought that if bears were bees, they'd build their nests at the bottom of trees. And that being so, if the bees were bears, we shouldn't have to climb up all these stairs. He was getting rather tired by this time, so that is why he sang a complaining song. He was nearly there now. If he just stood on that branch, and there was an enormous crack. Oh, help, said Pooh, as he dropped 10 feet on the branch below him. If only I hadn't, he said as he bounced 20 feet to the next branch. You see, what I meant to do, he explained, as he turned head over heels and crashed onto another branch 30 feet below. What I meant to do... Of course, it was rather, he admitted, as he slithered very quickly through the next 6 branches. It all comes, I suppose, he decided, as he said goodbye to the last branch, spun round 3 times and flew gracefully into a gorse bush. It all comes to liking honey so much. Oh, help. He crawled out of the gorse bush, brushed the prickles from his nose, and began to think again. And the first person he thought of was Christopher Robin. "Was that me?" said Christopher Robin in an awed voice, hardly daring to believe it. "That was you." Christopher Robin said nothing, but his eyes got larger and larger, and his face got pinker and pinker. So Winnie the Pooh went round to his friend Christopher Robin, who lived behind a green door in another part of the forest. "Good morning, Christopher Robin," he said. "Good morning, Winnie the Pooh," said you. "I wonder if you've got such a thing as a balloon about you." "A balloon?" "Yes, I just said to myself coming along, I wonder if Christopher Robin has such a thing as a balloon about him. I just said it to myself, thinking of balloons and wondering." "What do you want a balloon for?" you said. Winnie the Pooh looked round to see that nobody was listening, put his paw to his mouth and said in a deep whisper, "Honey." "But you don't get honey with balloons." "I do," said Pooh. "Well, it just happened that you'd been to a party the day before at the house of your friend Piglet, and you had balloons at the party. You had a big green balloon, and one of Rabbit's relations also had a big blue one and had left it behind, being really too young to go to a party at all. So you had brought the green one and the blue one home with you." "Which one would you like?" you asked Pooh. Well, he put his head between his paws and thought very carefully. "It's like this," he said. "When you go after honey with a balloon, the great thing is not to let the bees know you're coming. Now, if you have a green balloon, they might think you're part of the tree and not notice you. And if you have a blue balloon, they might think you're only part of the sky and not notice you. And the question is, which is most likely?" "Wouldn't they notice you under the balloon?" you asked. "They might, or they might not," said Winnie the Pooh. "You can never tell with bees." He thought for a moment and said, "I shall try to look like a small black cloud. That will deceive them." "Then you better have the blue balloon," you said, and so it was decided. Well, you both went out with a blue balloon, and you took your gun with you, just in case, as you always did. And Winnie the Pooh went to a very muddy place that he knew of, and rolled until he was black all over. And then, when the balloon was blown up as big, and you and Pooh were both holding onto the string, you let go suddenly, and Pooh Bear floated gracefully up into the sky and stayed there, level with the top of the tree and about 20 feet away from it. "Hooray!" you shouted. "Isn't that fine?" shouted Winnie the Pooh down to you. "What do I look like?" "You look like a bear holding onto a balloon," you said. "Not," said Pooh anxiously, "not like a black cloud in a blue sky?" "Not very much." "Oh well, perhaps from up here it looks different. And as I say, you can never tell with bees." There was no wind to blow nearer to the tree, so there he stayed. He could see the honey, he could smell the honey, but he couldn't quite reach the honey. Well, after a little while, he called down to you. "Christopher Robin," he said in a loud whisper. "Hello?" "I think the bees suspect something." "What sort of thing?" "I don't know, but something tells me they're suspicious." "Perhaps they think you're after their honey." "Might be that, You can never tell with bees. There was another little silence, and then he called down to you again. Christopher Robin! Yes? Have you an umbrella in your house? I think so. I wish you'd bring it out here and walk up and down with it and look up at me every now and then and say, it looks like rain. I think if you did that, it would help the deception which we are practicing on these bees. Well, you laughed to yourself. Silly old bear. But you didn't say it out loud because you were so fond of him, and you went home for your umbrella. Oh, there you are, called down Winnie the Pooh as soon as you got back to the tree. I was beginning to get anxious. I have discovered that the bees are now definitely suspicious. Shall I put my umbrella up? You said. Yes, but wait a moment. We must be practical. The important bee to deceive is the queen bee. Can you see which is the queen bee from down there? No. A pity. Well, now, if you walk up and down with your umbrella saying, it looks like rain, I shall do what I can by singing a little cloud song, such as a cloud might sing. Go. So while you walked up and down and wondered if it would rain, Winnie the Pooh sang this song. How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings aloud. How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud. The bees were still buzzing as suspiciously as ever. Some of them indeed had left their nest and flew all around the cloud as it began the second verse of this song. And one bee sat down on the nose of the cloud for a moment and then got up again. Christopher! Ow! Robin! Called out the cloud. Yes? I've just been thinking, and I have come to a very important decision. These are the wrong sort of bees. Are they? Quite the wrong sort. So I should think that they would make the wrong sort of honey. Shouldn't you? Would they? Yes. So I think I shall come down. How? Asked you. Winnie the Pooh hadn't thought about this. If he let go of the string, it would fall, bump, and he didn't like the idea of that. So he thought for a long time, and then he said, Christopher Robin, you must shoot the balloon with your gun. Have you got your gun? Of course I have, you said. But if I do that, it'll spoil the balloon, you said. But if you don't, said Pooh, then I shall have to let go, and that would spoil me. But when you put it like this, you saw how it was, and he aimed very carefully at the balloon and fired. Ow! Said Pooh. Did I miss? You asked. You didn't exactly miss, said Pooh, but you missed the balloon. I'm so sorry, you said, and you fired again, and this time you hit the balloon, and the air came slowly out, and Winnie the Pooh floated down to the ground. But his arms were so stiff from holding onto the string of the balloon all that time that they stayed up straight in the air for more than a week. And whenever a fly came and settled on his nose, he had to blow it off. And I think, but I'm not sure, that is why he's always called Pooh. Is that the end of the story? Asked Christopher Robin. That's the end of that one. There are others. About Pooh and me, and Piglet, and Rabbit, and all of you. Don't you remember? I do remember. And then when I try to remember, I forget. that day when Pooh and Piglet tried to catch the heffalump? They didn't catch it, did they? No. Pooh couldn't because he hasn't any brain. Did I catch it? Well, that comes in the story. Christopher Robin nodded. I do remember, he said. Only Pooh doesn't remember very well. And that's why he likes having it being told to him again. Because then it's a real story and not just a remembering. Well, that's how I feel, I said. Christopher Robin gave a deep sigh, picked up his bear by the leg and walked off to the door, trailing Pooh behind him. At the door he turned and said, "Coming to see me have my bath?" "I might," I said. "I didn't hurt him when I shot him, did I?" "Not a bit." He nodded and went out, and in a moment I heard Winnie the Pooh bump, 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 going up the stairs behind him. And there you go, Candice. That is your birthday reading, and I really do hope that you like the way I read it, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I just hope it put the little cherry on the cake that I hope that, you know, your birthday celebration was. I hope it was absolutely wonderful for you. So at this point, I'm just going to add that if any of you would like me to read something particularly special for you on your birthdays, now whether it be a folk tale, a fairy tale, or if there's something particular that you want me to read for you, any of you, the paranormal crew, if you want me to read something special for you for your birthday, or if you want to dedicate a story to anybody, just let me know in the comments and I'll find the story if I can, or you can always give me the link and I'll read it out for you. So it can be for a birthday, it can be for an anniversary, anything you like. You just tell me what you'd like me to read and I'll do that for you. Now, looking at the time, I think we've got just time to read from our special Beedle the Bard. So I'm going to read to you today The Warlock's Hairy Heart. And I haven't read this one before, so I'm quite looking forward to this. This is the third story in the Beedle the Bard series. So please sit back and relax, especially you, Candice, and you, Daphne, and Ria, and Kate, and everybody else, and please enjoy The Warlock's Hairy Heart from Beedle the Bard. There was once a handsome, rich and talented young warlock who observed that his friends grew foolish when they fell in love, gambling and preening, losing their appetites and their dignity. The young warlock resolved never to fall prey to such a weakness and employed dark arts to ensure his immunity. Unaware of his secret, the warlock's family laughed at him to seem so aloof and cold. All will change, they prophesied, when a maid catches his fancy. But the young warlock's fancy remained undodged. Though many a maiden was intrigued by his haughty mien and employed her most subtle arts to please him, none succeeded in touching his heart. The warlock gloried in his indifference and the sagacity that had produced it. The first freshness of youth waned, and the warlock's peers began to wed, and then to bring forth children. Their hearts must be husks, he sneered inwardly, as he observed the antics of the young parents around him, shrivelled by the demands of these mewling offspring. And once again he congratulated himself upon the wisdom of his early choice. In due course, the Warlock's aged parents died. Their son didn't mourn them. On the contrary, he considered himself blessed by their demise. Now he reigned alone in their castle. Having transferred his greatest treasure to the deepest dungeon, he gave himself over to a life of ease and plenty, his comfort the only aim of his many servants. The Warlock was sure that he must be an object of immense envy to all who beheld his splendid and untroubled solitude. Fierce were his anger and his chagrin, however, when he overheard two of his lackeys discussing their master one day. The first servant expressed pity for the Warlock, who, with all his wealth and power, was yet beloved by nobody. But his companion jeered, asking why a man with so much gold and a palatial castle to his name had been unable to attract a wife. Their words dealt dreadful blows to the listening Warlock's pride. He resolved at once to take himself a wife, and that she would be a wife superior to all others. She would possess astounding beauty, exciting envy and desire in every man who beheld her. She would spring magical lineage, so that their offspring would inherit outstanding magical gifts, and she would have wealth at least equal to his own, so that his comfortable existence would be assured in spite of additions to his household. It might have taken the Warlock 50 years to find such a woman, yet it so happened that the very day after he decided to seek her, a maiden answering his every wish arrived in the neighbourhood to visit her kinsfolk. She was a witch of prodigious skill and possessed of much gold. Her beauty was such that it tugged at the heart of every man who sat eyes on her. Of every man, that is, except one. The Warlock's heart felt nothing at all. Nevertheless, she was the prize he sought, so he began to pay her court. All who noticed the Warlock's change in manners were amazed, and told the maiden that she had succeeded where 100 had failed. The young woman herself was both fascinated and repelled by the Warlock's intentions. She sensed the coldness that lay behind the warmth of his flattery, and had never met a man so strange and remote. Her kinsfolk, however, deemed theirs a most suitable match, and eager to promote it, accepted the Warlock's invitation to a great feast in the maiden's honour. The table was laden with silver and gold, bearing the finest wines and most sumptuous foods. Minstrels strummed on silk-stringed lutes and sang of love their master had never felt. The maiden sat upon a throne beside the Warlock, who spake low, employing words of tenderness he'd stolen from the poets, without any idea of their true meaning. The maiden listened, puzzled, and finally replied, "You speak well, Warlock, and I would be delighted by your attentions, if only I thought you had a heart." The Warlock smiled and told her that she need not fear on that score. Bidding her to follow, he led her from the feast down to the locked dungeon where he kept his greatest treasure. Here, in an enchanted crystal casket, was the Warlock's beating heart. Long since disconnected from eyes, ears and fingers, it had never fallen prey to beauty, or to a musical voice, or to feel of silken skin. The maiden was terrified by the sight of it, for the heart was shrunken and covered in long black hair. "Oh, what have you done?" she lamented. "Put it back where it belongs, I beseech you." Seeing that this was necessary to please her, the Warlock drew his wand, unlocked the crystal casket, sliced open his own breast, and replaced the hairy heart in the empty cavity it had once occupied. "Now you are healed and will know true love," cried the maiden, and she embraced him. The touch of her soft white arms, the sound of her breath in his ear, the scent of her heavy gold hair, all pierced the newly awakened heart like spears. But it had grown strange during its long exile, blind and savage in the darkness to which it had become condemned, and its appetites had grown powerful and perverse. The guests at the feast had noticed the absence of their host and the maiden. At first untroubled, they grew anxious as the hours passed, and finally began to search the castle. They found the dungeon at last, and a most dreadful sight awaited them there. The maiden lay dead upon the floor, her breast cut open, and beside her crouched the mad Warlock, holding in one bloody hand a great, smooth, shining scarlet heart, which he licked and stroked, vowing to exchange it for his own. And in his other hand he held his wand, trying to coax from his own chest the shriveled, hairy heart. But the hairy heart was stronger than he was, and refused to relinquish its hold upon his senses, or to return to the coffin in which it had been locked for so long. Before the horror-struck eyes of his guests, the Warlock cast aside his wand and seized a silver dagger. Vowing never to be mastered by his own heart, he hacked it from his chest. For one moment, the Warlock knelt triumphant, and a heart clutched in each hand. Then he fell across the maiden's body and died. Oh. Well, I don't know what the intended moral of the story was for that one, but I would say don't pull your heart out of your chest and stuff it in a box where it'll grow all hairy and disgusting, because I'm sure that I wouldn't stuff anything all hairy and mothbally into any part of me, and I'm sure none of you would either. So I think that's basically the moral of the story is, let your heart swing free and find love where it can, because life's awfully short. And you don't just go and tap up the first man or woman that you see, obviously. You've got to have some taste and some decorum about these things. There's a certain etiquette, isn't there, really? When I was young, you waited weeks, if not months, before, all the hanky-panky and what have you. These days, it's like, do you? Yes? Okay, then. Although, tell me I'm wrong. I don't think I am that wrong. So, it wasn't exactly a happy ending, was it? Possible intended wedding feast, or, the begins of, and before you know it, somebody's daughter's down the stairs, bleeding to death, and our intended sort of cackling to himself with a hairy heart. I didn't write this, but, surely you can't say that this is writing for children, really, because I'm sure if I'd read that to mine when they were a lot younger, I think it would have given my daughter nightmares, to be honest. But the last time I had a sensation of feeling like I had a hairy heart was when I had heartburn, and I felt as if I'd eaten horsehair. So that's about the newest thing I've come to it. But that probably doesn't even make a jot of sense. But then again, this is me you're talking to. So what can I tell you? Okay, right, we are a little bit over time. So again, this was a very special birthday edition of the Wednesday Folktales. It was for our Candice. Happy birthday, Candice. And I really hope you enjoyed it, love. And I hope everybody else had a good time. Please let me know in the comments if there's anything that you would like me to read for you, with regard to folk tales. Oh, and just so you know, I found a new set of folk tales for the Isle of Wight. From the Isle of Wight, you'll see that there. And the south part of the UK, Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, they're right down at the bottom of the UK. And they've got some nice little tales in here. So I'll be reading you some of those in the future. And this is recommended to me by our Rhea. So there you go, Rhea. Something for you there. So I'll be reading out of that in the future. We only have one more Beedle the Bard to read. And I'll try and see if I can fit that in next week. So, I will see our paranormal crew on Friday with some more tales of paranormal doings and daring do and what have you. And all being well, I hope to see the rest of you next week, but I can't guarantee it. So, but you'll know if I upload a video. I'll do my best. I might try and upload over the weekend to make up to you for what you've lost out on. So, with that all being said, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week. I love you all, and I'll see you all again very soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.